Reasons for relocations. We're talking about our experience here in Cyprus. So here in Cyprus, the main reason our overseas investors, entrepreneurs, and businesses are relocating are primarily for tax and lifestyle purposes. Uh, these are the driving forces, and this is what makes a headquarter or an entrepreneur or an investor who is receiving dividend income from various sources to relocate physically or change his or her tax residency into a different jurisdiction. So Cyprus has been attracting such kind of people for the below reasons. We have the tax reasons are the obvious ones, 0% on the disposal of securities. We have zero dividend income as far as Cyprus is concerned. So when investors receive their dividends, Cyprus doesn't get anything on taxes. We have certain tax schemes for 2.5% corporation tax for our technology companies, and this is the so-called IP box. We have a standard 12.5% corporation tax across all companies, with the exception of some sectors such as insurance companies and shipping companies, which is very low if you compare this to other jurisdictions. And of course, living costs compared to the rest of the EU, with the exception, I believe, of Hungary, Romania, are very low. So this is a very strong argument for anyone who wants to reduce a significant amount of money and increase their earnings, whether these earnings are passive from dividend income or from business income. Of course, the second reason why most people relocate here, if they do it for more than 60 days or more than half a year, is for the nice lifestyle where life here is beautiful, easy, relaxed. And of course, we are an island during the summer season, which lasts for around 8 months. People can enjoy themselves at the beach and other summer resorts. Last but not least, Cyprus is also very good and strong for retirement purposes. So we've seen lots of pensioners who come here and they retire here. And again, we tax their pension very low, only at 2.65%. Again, nice lifestyle and low taxes. That's why they choose our country to come and retire. So, do you think Cyprus deserves this relocation inflow? Is it just about taxation? What do you think ticks the box? I've told you what I think ticks the box about our country. Of course, we can add there that English language is widely spoken almost by everyone. All the information here is fairly automated and fairly computerized. We're talking about the government, the banks, the civil service. And of course, people are friendly, driving is easy, living here is easy. We are quite sophisticated, not like the northern countries of Europe, but we are getting there. So I've added some questions here for you if you want to have a discussion, maybe, or for you to think whether you can sell this to your clients, whether you can sell your country to prospects, to interested parties for relocation purposes. So if you want to add something here, by all means. Okay, let's move on to the second slide.
We have just a comment in the chat from my colleague Chila.
Please tell me the comments because I'm looking at the presentation. Yes.
Yeah. So she's saying I'm both getting ready to pack up my whole family.
Bravo, bravo. We will be more than happy to
I didn't
assist
want
you.
to disturb, sorry, but you are selling it so well.
Okay. As long as you are listening and I'm not talking alone, I don't have any issues.
What came to my mind is also the situation in other countries, right? So the motivation factor when deciding and if to decide to relocate is also a big deal with the situations, and the situation nowadays have changed and are changing pretty quickly. So maybe this could be one of the main reasons as well.
Of course. So difficulties encountered. These are the difficulties we have encountered as service providers, okay? Because we want this to be relevant for the members. So I list here some of the difficulties, and it's very important for you to remember these difficulties in case you have similar cases to ours. So for them, for people to relocate, what I'm saying there is relatively easy, especially when they don't have children. But what happens with the rest of the story? We're talking about the exit rules of some countries, like the United Kingdom, Germany, I believe, and other more tax advanced countries where in order to change tax residency, even if you physically live your initial place of birth or your London, for instance, or the UK, you need to do certain steps which are not light. For instance, selling your primary residence there or not owning any properties before you decide to live and change your tax residency to a different country. Another difficulty we are encountering is, of course, with the special permits non-EU people require. So, as you all know, moving and working within Europe is very easy. No issues there. But when we're dealing about people from third countries like the US, Canada, India, maybe Asia, then they require special permits. This is the EU law, and you will need to get to know about these permits, and they are not so easy to handle and deal with. Primarily because each country has its own peculiarities, each country has its own mechanism that makes this process very difficult. So the permits for non-EU people, it's a key issue, and I want you to remember this because it can cause a friction between the service provider and the client for many reasons, commonly delaying of getting them. Another common difficulty that we experience here in Cyprus, and you need to be aware of, is of course the availability of English-speaking schools. So the families are welcome to come, you've convinced them to come, the tax is great, the island is great, but what about the schools? Does the island or does your country or the city has adequate schools to cater for all these expats who are coming in? In Cyprus, we are experiencing now some issues as the schools are overwhelmed. They are raising the school fees high, they're taking advantage. And again, this does not sound or project a nice image of our efforts and our country. And the last part, of course, as I've mentioned earlier on, is the time that is required to get the non-EU permits out. It could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, it could be more than a year, it depends. Some specific examples are, for instance, Americans or Canadians who want to relocate to Europe, and they need to bring legalized paperwork with them. Imagine if you meet a Canadian person in Europe and then he agrees to go ahead with his permits, and you ask him to bring the originals of, let's say, or apostille or notarized originals who have short expiry days and which your country will not accept if they have expired, if this paperwork has expired a month or 2 months after it was recently been validated. Again, that person will have to go, fly back or make arrangements to get this paperwork to him in Europe. But because we're talking about maybe birth certificates, marriage certificates, or other very sensitive documents, clean criminal records, they themselves need to take them and they cannot outsource this. So traveling and time is a big issue and could create friction between us and the client because they cannot understand sometimes or they don't want to understand the importance of having this paperwork.
If I may ask, in your experience, how often the rules are changing? Because I've been working with the working permits and relocating people from third countries in the past, and one of the biggest challenges to me was that always the rules been changing on both sides in EU and in Slovakia. What we needed to actually have for the employees, and also on the other side in the third country, and it was very hard to track on what is accurate and what we should do at that time. So how maybe do you keep track of these changes?
You're spot on. Cyprus, I'm not going to talk about EU because from my experience over the last 8 years that we're dealing with these relocations, things haven't changed much at EU level. But the problem we are facing is locally because we are changing as a country our different visas and different schemes for overseas people. Or we open a visa which has a maximum ceiling. Let's say in Cyprus, we had the entrepreneurship visa. It was fast track up to 400, let's say, or 600 applicants. No issues. Within a month or two, they would get the visas and they could come here and work here. Okay, that visa has reached its ceiling and it hasn't been renewed for 3-4 years. Or other requirements take forever locally to be examined. So the answer to your question is, from my experience, we've been okay with the overseas jurisdictions and EU keeping their requirements stable, but we see that our country is weak in fulfilling its part of the deal. Okay.
Thank you.
Service providers, let's go to the next slide. Is it worth investing in this sector? What can go wrong with such clients? So this is about us as service providers, about their case network, and our opinion is that it's totally worth investing in the relocation of businesses and families to your country. And these are some of the fees that you can charge in doing so. You will have the incorporation of a company, which is of course a one-off fee. The visa fees, which are of course one-off, but they are quite substantial in some cases. And of course, if you are offering these services, accounting, audit, tax, payroll, these are ongoing services. And of course, there is sometimes legal work in terms of maybe making a conveyancing for the acquisition of a property, of a flat, of a house, and what have you. Of course, these people will need your guidance here when they relocate to your country, and these, of course, are advisory hours from our perspective. So it's a sector worth investing, not only because you have your recurring fees, but also because you have your one-off relocation fees, which we believe are significant, especially if you have complicated tax structures, complicated transactions, then you need to issue tax opinions, legal opinions, maybe even VAT opinions. So we're talking about tens of thousands one-off fees before you start actually the incorporation process, the visa process, and your recurring services for accounting, audit, and tax. We have a very nice example here, just to see that even though this is a lucrative business, it's very tricky, not because of our work as experts in accounting, audit, tax, but because of immigration matters, which each case is totally different. Each case has its distinct characteristics, and each case can go wrong for different reasons. So for instance, in my example, we had a Canadian investor who was a crypto trader, wanted to come to Cyprus. He was convinced by the beauties of the island, the taxes of the cryptos, but he had several passports, and some of these passports were mentioned to us at a later stage during the work permit application or his visa's application. Just that small detail could derail the whole application. Imagine now wasting 6 or 8 months trying to get a visa just to realize that some information vital was not presented to you, or you have applied for a passport A whilst this individual came to Cyprus, for instance, with passport B. Everything is cross-checked. This is a simple example. So moving on. What is required from you as service providers to provide such services if you are interested? Here I'm listing some of the resources needed. Very simple manner, but important for you just to keep note. So most and foremostly, of course, you need to market these services. You need to let everyone know that you are offering these relocation services and why you are offering them. So you need a good CRM, you need to do your marketing, you need to inform your peers, the network, as we are doing right now, that you're dealing with this, so that they keep an eye and an ear for prospect clients needing to relocate. You need very good expertise, number 2, in these visas and immigration requirements. So you need a very strong technical team to advise you for the reasons we've mentioned earlier on. It's not black or white situations. All the visa permits, we're talking about non-EU, are always gray. There's not black and white. Each case is totally different, and you need to have the expertise and the people and the know-how to ensure you don't take forever for you to issue a visa, and of course not to be rejected. The other issue, of course, is the other point that you need to make sure is that you are aware of what's going on in your country with the English-speaking schools, especially in your city. If you're living in a big country, how many they are, what capacity they have, how much they're charging. Maybe these are good discussions to have with your clients earlier on in the engagement before they actually move and come to your country. Now I'm mentioning some more tax benefits that Cyprus has for employees. So earlier on we've mentioned the tax benefits for the companies, but the employees themselves have lots of tax benefits if they relocate to Cyprus. So you need to check whether your country offers such benefits at a personal level, at an employment level, so that you will attract headquarters companies who will either bring their employees here in your country, there in your country, or recruit local employees. So I'm listing our own tax benefits. It's good to look up whether you have such tax benefits. This is it. This was my short presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm open to any questions that you might have.
I would maybe start to encourage also others to be able to ask as well. I'm wondering if you see that the demand for this type of services is growing, and if yes, maybe what do you think? What are the best reasons or the biggest reasons for that?
I see that global mobility, it's a fact. Social media promotes a lot this lifestyle of living in different countries. There is lots of education now about changing your tax residency, how easy it is or how feasible it is.
We couldn't hear you for a while, Kyriakos. Sorry, maybe you can repeat the answer.
We see that the social media play a big part of this because they demonstrate how easy it is, or that is possible to change tax residency. And this is global. That's why global mobility, it's a fact, and it's something that, especially between young people, I believe now is very common. So the clients we are referring to are usually between the age of 30 and 40 years old. Having said that, we also have clients older than that age group who are also relocating or bringing their business to the island.
Thank you. And I could see that you've been promoting a relocation as service which you offer. Is maybe something different when promoting such a specific service?
Sorry, what's the question? Is there?
If there is anything special when promoting specific services, as this kind of service. So, for example, for the relocation, when you have promoted it, did you think from the marketing point of view maybe to promote it in different way as maybe the other services which you offer, or do you keep maybe the same marketing strategy?
To be honest, I haven't changed the strategy. It's a very good question, even though we should have changed the strategy, because we could have combined it with the acquisition of properties here in Cyprus, which is a very hot topic, for instance. So when you're promoting these relocation packages, you need to combine, I believe, the tax element, which goes for the benefits, the lifestyle, and of course something else. And this something else is an investment opportunity or something. These three things I think are very important in your marketing efforts. And you need to be direct and specifying the word relocation or changing tax residency, so that the reader, when they read the articles or the posts, they go through the thought process of considering whether this is an opportunity or not.
Thank you. Are there maybe some other questions from the audience?
The audience is very quiet.
Yeah. Probably you had in your presentation everything needed. But in any case, I will for sure share the presentation also via the follow-up email. If you would have any other questions, even after this webinar, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or directly to Kyriakos. And yeah, if there are not any other questions, or would you like to add something, Kyriakos, at the end?
No, that's it. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you at the next presentation or month-end meeting.
Thank you very much to all of you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming discussions and webinars in the next month.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Kyriakos.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Bye.